We're going to be doing the shag haircut on Chantel. And let's just take a look at the overall length, because the outline is just about perfect. So as a result, most of the work is really going to take place on the interior of the cut, where we're going to remove the weight, which will emphasize the head shape. The fringe area, or bang, is just about right as it is now. So I think by the time we've graduated it, it'll be correct. And if it needs it, we'll just slice out a little bit of the weight. So a very, very simple haircut. You know, at least as important as the haircut is the communication aspect of the service, because that's when you establish with the customer your professionalism, give them a level of comfort, and they understand exactly what's going to happen. So the consultation is just as important as the haircut itself. And it's not just about the haircut. Communication takes place in lots of different areas of the salon. When you shampoo, the conditioners you're using, any of the styling products, and any of the fixatives. Because after all, what you want to establish is a hairstyle that your client can maintain and get to look as good when she's not in the salon as when she is. That's what's going to bring you business in. People are going to be recommended, and they're going to be asking as a result of how great her hair looks while she's not in the store, but what it's going to look like in the next 4 or 6 weeks. And the only person who can teach her that is you, because you're the creator of the look. So remember, communication skills are an absolute must in a successful service. And now, let's start our haircut. We start in the back, taking a section from the crown area down towards the hairline. We're not going to go all the way to the hairline, because that's what creates the shag haircut. The fact that there are two independent lengths, the shorter interior and the longer outline. The sections work their way into the side and the front from the back. From the profile, we'll see the same sections repeated to give you a clear understanding of the direction that they're taking. You can clearly see what we mean here by working their way not only into the back area, but also into the top and the sides of the haircut. The direction of the haircut starts with the first section in the center at the back, including the crown area, and we work the hair towards the middle. Each new section drifts slightly towards the front of the head, which creates the graduation. You don't want to pull the hair all the way to the center, because if you do, you'll have too much build-up in weight, and you'll have too much length, which would make it harder to have a softer outline and separate the two lengths of the cut. And we'll see that in just a few moments when we look at the technique we use. So we take our first section, where we saw it in the diagram. It's just at the crown area, working its way in towards the back or the nape. Remember, we're not going to go all the way to the hairline. You can see we're taking off quite a considerable amount of hair. Remember, the idea of the shag haircut is that it is a shorter interior, which creates more texture, and then separates at the outline, giving you that softer finish throughout the edges of the cut. We're using the small teeth for tension and the large teeth for taking the section and seeing how the hair is reacting. And that's very important. You want to watch how the texture of hair begins to develop, because it's really going to tell us when we've cut to the correct length. You'll notice that as I work my way down through the center and the back, I am leaving the outline independent of the interior sections. Watch how I cut each section more than once, and that creates the correct line and shape. It's very important, especially at the beginning of the cut. You'll notice that although I take a section from the crown area down towards the nape, I then separate it into smaller sections. And the reason is it's easier to work with. It's very important as well that you'll see that the hair is being brought towards me. I'm not working away from myself. It's a much simpler process of being able to see the guideline because it's on your side rather than on the other side of the longer hair. And it makes it very easy to then just cut to the line. As you could see in the diagram earlier, the section is not being dragged all the way to the middle. Instead, it's working its way around the head shape. That's important as I don't want to build up too much weight in towards the front. And I'm really cross-checking at this moment because although I'm working on the same first two sections, I'm coming across it slightly more. So we're cutting and cross-checking as we go. Small teeth for tension. Begin my third section. There's the guide. Cut to it. The more I lift the hair towards the front of the head, the more extreme the graduation becomes. The more I draw it towards the center in the back, the heavier the graduation, or longer. It doesn't really matter which haircut you're working on. The technique is to keep your sections clean and the approach as simple as possible. That's what really allows you to then express yourself in the haircut itself. Because once you have the mechanics right, then you're in a position to be able to do the cut that you really want to. So the more you understand about the mechanics, the simpler the process becomes. You can see that the section is not only working its way into the back, but it's starting to work its way into the top sections and also the side of the head. That's very important. It's a very simple cut. There are really only two guides to the entire shape. The first one, the one we're working on now, and then later, the front or fringe area. Small teeth, you'll see I use the large teeth to take the section, and then the small teeth to get the tension. The cleaner you keep the sections, the easier the cut is. And you can see that guide very plainly. Now we're going to start to work our way even more into the top sections. At this point, we'll start to shape the top as well. And you'll notice how I start taking a little bit of weight out through the top section. Watch how I then bring the hair up vertically, straight up. Now's the time that we create the top section guide. So we then have a key that runs from the back all the way to the front hairline. We're establishing the length for the interior top sections and the key to blend into the back and side previously cut guide. So when we pick up our next section, we'll be blending into the top and the back. It is one key, and it gives you the entire interior of the cut. You can see the shape has now continued from the back into the top. Make sure we comb our outline cleanly out of the way and blend into the top section, into the side section, and into the back. At this point, you can see very clearly that we're not drawing the hair all the way to the middle and the back. Remember, that's what establishes the amount of or lack of graduation. The more you take it to the center back, the less graduation, the longer the layers will be. The more vertically you come away from the guide that you're working on, the shorter the graduation, or the more extreme the graduation will be. And you can see now that we're blending top, side, back. It's a single process, a single line that all originated from that first center section in the crown area. Make sure that when you start the top section that you do check to see that you're putting in the length that you want there, because you're following at that point the curvature on the head, and that's what will then make and establish the interior for the sides as well as the back and create the shape. Same thing, large teeth, combing the hair out of the way, working that hair back. Now I'm pulling the hair slightly more back at this point towards the center. The reason for that is I want to have a difference in the length on the outline in the interior, but I want it to have a certain softness to it, or a naturalness. I don't want there to be such a delineation or difference in the two lengths that it looks like a step. Yes, I want there to be a clear change in shape, but at the same time, I want it to be subtle rather than too extreme. This haircut's being done at real time. In other words, we're seeing a full half of the cut being done. So not only is it simple, but it's a pretty fast process. You know, when I say there are 2 sections to this cut, in some instances there are 3. The outline was established prior to us starting the haircut, so we really didn't need to go in and establish one. If, however, it's too long to begin with, I'd recommend that you start by establishing your outline length and then continue with the interior of the haircut. As we said before, what we're really doing at this point, yes, we're cutting, but we're also checking. It's the very, very small amount of hair that you see coming off, almost dust, that really creates the cut, because that's the finishing techniques or finishing tips that give it the real strength of character or line. As I work my way to the final section in the outline, you'll see that it doesn't have a sharp, clean section, but it's a softer, more erratic section that I'm taking, all part of creating that blend or blend and separation in the 2 lengths. And as I comb the hair down, you can see that the outline really is longer and does have a different texture, different effect to it. It's noticeable even when the hair is wet. We're going to go on and do the other half, and we'll come back and take a look at the technique that we use for the front section. It's already a strong shape through the profile and into the front from the side view. We've completed the second half and we're ready to start our second start point. We take sections from approximately halfway through the top of the hair towards the hairline, as indicated in the diagram. And then we bring them forward and cut the shape to remove weight from the bang or fringe area. You'll remember that the fringe was really the right length in this instance to begin with. So what we're going to be doing is removing weight. If the fringe was too long, then we would not just be removing weight, we'd actually be establishing the length. But the technique would be exactly the same as we're using here. So we bring the hair forward, there's the original length, and I'm cutting the weight or bulk out through the center of the section. So remember, if the fringe length or bang length is too long to begin with, you'd use exactly the same technique as you're seeing, and it would remove the weight and establish the length. And actually, we are changing the length very slightly. You can see already we're taking weight, which is making that outline softer and a little more in context with the outline that we established through the sides and the back with the rest of the cut. Bring my next section out, cut to the line, small teeth for tension, large teeth for taking the section. I'm working with the hair as it's drying because it's very important at this point to see exactly how the cut's developing. And my next section, and then I'll change the direction slightly and start to bring the side into the bang area because I want to just blend it. So you can see now I'm just shaping that outline as I go. And we finished this half. We're going to repeat the same technique on the other side, and then we'll come back and take a look at the total finished shape, and then we just have to proceed with the checking. We finished the basic sectioning of the haircut, and now we're going to go in and just start checking. And all I'm going to do is use the large teeth, pick up sections, and take a tiny bit of the weight out of it. What that does, incidentally, is even though I'm cutting very, very precise lines, it actually texturizes it a little bit. So I'm just lifting up sections all the way through the cut. Unlike just about any other haircut, there is an area in here, we'll see in a minute, that when I pick it up, there are longer pieces. Don't cut those longer pieces off unless you need to work with the balance. And I have actually left a little section on the side so that I can show you what I mean by working with the balance. It's a very quick haircut because it's such a simple technique. It's really just one curved section that runs right the way through the head, and then you work all the graduation to it. And obviously there was the fringe area, or bang. Want to see exactly how the texture is developing. It's also important that you can see it sits in here a little bit, causes that flick, and then you can see the dropout section here. Let's take a look at that. There's that longer hair. You can see it is not connected to the graduation, and you don't want it to be. Now on the other side, and we're going to turn the head around now, you'll notice that there's a little more weight in through this side. So I'm going to start by taking a section in through here, really looking at. Now you'll see how extreme the difference is in that graduation. There's the line, and there's the length. I take out a little bit more. Draw that hair back. I mean by that, pull this back so that there's not as definite a step or change in length, but that it blends in. And now I'm actually going to use the scissor to pick up sections here, comb my hair out of the way, the area that I want out, lift it up, and don't cut all of that off, but soften up the separation in the hair. So work that area that I have that shag effect, so there is a different texture in through there. And that's much better because now that balance is in. I'm going to take the same thing in here and just cut into it a little bit. And I can do that anywhere I want to in the haircut to add some texture. Very important, incidentally, keep the blade coming into the hair. Don't cut across it, because if you cut across it, you'll take too much weight out. So just adding a little bit of texture. And I can do that in that outline area. Okay. Now I want to do one last thing. I want to check the hair from the side in that manner. Bring that over. Okay. Get my length there. And come over to this side. Now, what I'm not doing is blending this into the rest of the haircut. I'm just making sure that both sides balance. Remember that original outline we didn't cut. It actually becomes a really important part of the design line that we didn't cut the outline. And what you want to do is try not to, because what it can do is help create somewhat of a different look on each of your clients. It changes the length and the balance of the actual style. My last opportunity for doing any work is in through the fringe area. Now we finished that section and it's just about light enough, but I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to pick that up and just lighten into it a little bit. You can see that lightens that area a touch more. Also notice just how fine that area is. When you see the hair coming off, it's very, very small amounts. You're not going in there and trying to take off large amounts of hair. If you do that, you're going to spoil all the work you've put into it. Okay, and that's it. So at this point, we're ready to apply the product. And I'm going to use two different products on the hair with this style. I'm going to use the soft sculpting glaze, and quite a bit of it actually. Work it into my hands on both sides, so I literally cover my hands in it, and then I work it into the hair. Now I can work the hair forward or back. It's entirely up to me and my client. Again, that whole look has been established during your consultation. The last thing I'm going to do is shining solution, but I'm going to use a little more than recommended, quite a bit, because I want a little bit of a almost grunge look to it. Chantal has fabulously shiny hair anyway, so I'm using this as a finishing technique, not just as a product or for shine. I'm actually using it. I wanted a little bit of body, that's why I use the soft sculpting glaze. I'm obviously not going to get any fixture effect with the shining solution, but I do get it with the soft sculpting glaze. I really like the difference in the texture of the bang area compared to that lightness throughout the rest of the cut. And of course, I've got a lot of different options. I can wear it back, I can have it forward, I can tuck it behind the ear, just about any different way that I want. Okay, and now we're just going to let that dry up and we'll take a look at our finished style.